things which are freely available are being developed and how they can be utilized in the classroom. And I just want to briefly mention that Ajit has authored 3 or 4 books. I think 2 of them have been published, and a third, both of them using a course in real analysis with Kumdesan, calculus with Sage. So Sage is a software which he'll be talking about, and linear algebra with Sage, which is available on his website. These are 3 books that I'm aware of, and there are a couple more in the works. And he has been coming to time. He's a very regular speaker, and I look forward to hearing about open source, its use and relevance to school education.
Thank you, Gaurav. And first of all, let me thank the organizer, Time 2015, especially Mr. Rana, for inviting me to share my thoughts on this topic. So let me just what I'm going to talk. So first I'll just briefly mention what is this open source software or free and open source software, and why does one use such things, especially at school level. Then some of the relevant software that one can look at school curriculum, and programming language that one can try and teach at school level. And as you mentioned, I'll also briefly introduce a software called Sage, which is one of the very popular free and open source software, which can be used from school level to postgraduate level and research level as well. Right, so that's briefly outline of this talk. First of all, before I start, let me say that I am not false activist, free and open source activist. Okay, so I do use free softwares. I also use proprietary softwares, and depending upon the place where I'm teaching or the availability of the software, I try to kind of adopt whichever is suitable. Right? Right. So that's the first thing. So let's see. First of all, of course, this is the question you must have been asking, and if you have attended any talk related to using technology in mathematics teaching or learning, this you must have always asked. So we use mathematical software to teach, learn, or to research in mathematics. Well, I mean, I'm not going to get into debate of these things, because there are reasonable amount of literature available on this, whether to use it, whether it is effective, what are the benefits of this, there are some drawbacks. All these things, if you look at some of the literatures are available, so I'm not going to get into all these things. Of course, in my opinion, we should use it, and depending upon what you are teaching, how you want to introduce a topic, so whatever is suitable, whatever you feel comfortable with and available, try to use this to best of your kind of the resources available and things like that, right? So of course, in this, as I said, now if you look at this, all these mathematical tools that we have available, it's there for last so many years. I think from 80s it started. So now, it has gone a lot of changes and a lot of things are available. So, in that sense, we can't get away with these things, right? This is here to stay. not long back, even the using calculator was not kind of encouraged, and using Mathematica or Maple or any of these big mathematical computational tools were not allowed. But now they are allowed, they are acceptable, but also they are encouraged at various levels. So, I mean, we cannot get away with this, but it's better that we adopt. And again, as I said, let me again repeat, here the teacher is kind of the main, it depends upon the teacher, how, as a teacher, how you want to use it, okay? If it is made compulsory in some courses, etc., the first instinct our will be to kind of oppose it, right? That's the opposition. Any new changes that is kind of suggested or brought in any of this, whether it is syllabus or in any society, there will be always a lot of opposition. That is the first thing. Okay, but so my thing is, my suggestion, as I said, is you can use volunteering, whatever topic you feel where you can make things much more interesting, where you think that when I use such tools, it will add to the understanding of the students, you should use it. Whether it is suggested in the curriculum, where it is compulsory or not, I mean, that's how I've been using, in fact. Right, so let me just introduce what we mean by, many of you have already, must be knowing all these things, but when I say open source software, this means any computer software or mathematical program that everybody has right to use, adapt, modify, distribute, whether it is an original form or modified form. So that is what I kind of refer to OSS, and most importantly, as I said, it is free. So we can call this as FOSS, free and open source software. The important thing about this OSS or FOSS is that the source code are available, right? So not only you can use the program, you can see how the programs are written, and you can modify yourself, and you can redistribute the modified one. So that is the basic philosophy of free and open source software. Okay. So see, this is important at all level, even at the school level. For example, if you give any new toy to kids, they just don't play with the toys, but many of them would try and open the toy and see whether they can assemble it again and maybe make some changes and this, that, right? So the same way, these software, if you give some software to the children, and if they know a little bit of programming, they may see the source code, they may try to modify that itself, right? And they may innovate, they may come up with something new. One of the way learning programming is also, you should be able to look at a lot of programs that other people have written. Okay, so in that sense, this OSS is a very good kind of thing. Okay, so when I say this open source software, basically you can put this into three broad categories. One is like operating system. The many operating systems are under this category, mostly Linux operating system, right? So for example, the one which I am using is a Linux operating system. It is called Mint. This is regarded as one of the top most operating system at present. So it's a free software. Most of the programs in this are freely available. And these days, it's not very difficult to even install and run this. It's as simple as Windows system. So next is open source software which are available for classroom management system, or LMS is what they call. So here also there are lots of them available freely. One of them which generally are most popular one is Moodle. Then there are many others like Blackboard. There is also now Google has come, Google Classrooms. So many of these things are under this classroom management system. So those are also freely available. Of course, at the same time, there are also many of them are commercially available. But if you want to use it and you don't want to spend money on this kind of software, there are enough softwares available which will serve the purpose. Maybe you have to explore a little bit. Some investment in terms of efforts is required, but it's available. So for example, if you go to this site, there is a top 8 free open source software under learning management school system, classroom management system. So you can look at them. But the third category is kind of FOSS applications, and that is what mainly I'm going to concentrate on, which is mathematical software which are available freely and under open source. So this is what mostly I'm going to look at, right? As I said, I'm not going to get into all the details, etc. Why should use all these things only? But if you look at free software foundations, they mention there are 4 freedoms that comes with these softwares. The freedom to run the program for any purpose. You can use it for any purpose. Freedom to study how the program works and adapt to your needs. So unless the program source code is available, you cannot see that how the program is running and how it works. So that is very important. And then freedom to redistribute the original program, and as I said, make the improvement in the program, and then again you can share with others. Okay? So when you use free and open source softwares, at least you have these 4 freedoms. So why should one use only this kind of open source software at school level? Of course, all of us know that, especially in India, there are still a lot of constraints. Many schools do not have, proper infrastructure. They may have maybe lab, but they may not have computers. They may have computers, may not have money to buy softwares, etc. Right? So, if one uses this kind of software, some of the problems can be taken care. I'm not saying that everything will be solved by this. So, apart from just reducing the cost of the software, the OSS can easily be customized to suit the needs of the individual and institution, which you cannot do it when you are using proprietary software, because in that case, you have to pay to the software company so that they can make changes as better, they can customize for your needs or your institution needs. But in OSS, either if you are expert, you yourself can do it, or many times there is a kind of vibrant user group, and you may get sometimes some guidance using which you can set it up or customize. Right? Use of this OSS can help the user to understand how the software are made and how it works, that I already mentioned. And it can foster creativity and innovations among the students, right? So as I said, when you are asking the student to use a particular software in which everything is open, everything is available to see for the students, many students, I'm not saying all of them, would like to see how the programs are written and how may like to change some of the source code, and that is how many things are kind of made, right? Students can learn from these programs. They may try to replicate for something else, or maybe try to modify the same program and make it slightly better, which can solve some other kinds of problems. Okay? And if you are creating teaching modules, as I said, many teachers have created teaching modules on various topics using many of these software. You can share these modules freely from on the internet or on social media, which is becoming very popular these days now, right? And even the documentations, etc., are very easily available. And many times this FOSS community will come to your rescue. In fact, most often if you have some problem, you can just ask Google Baba. He will provide you some answer, right? So many things, many solutions are available there, right? And as I said, you can also upgrade the software very easily. Whereas if you are using, for example, let's say MATLAB or Mathematica, which is not free, any next version will cost you as much as the previous version. So if you have bought it one license for, let us say, a few lakh rupees, the next version will cost at almost that much amount. Whereas in this kind of software, very easily you can upgrade. Okay, so that's also very important. That's one of the biggest problems if you are using this proprietary software. Many of them would ask you to buy what they call campus license, site license, where annually you have to pay a lot of money, or if you buy, let us say, a license, perpetual license, they will, within a year or so, they will have next version, and you have to pay again almost similar amount. Okay, so that's a big problem. And also most of this open source software can work on old hardwares. That also one of the advantages, because you see that not all schools can buy computers regularly, new computers. Many schools are kind of given computers from some company, etc., that donated, so they are old hardwares, etc. Right? Once you buy computers, at least 5, 6, 7 years, usually nothing happens most often. So, but in that case, if you are using this open source software, those things will still continue to work. That is one advantage. Okay, of course, why one should use only free software? You can try and read an article by Richard Stallman. So here he gives, in fact, all these things. I just, it's available on the website, so you can just go through. Right? He mentioned why one should use only free software, not proprietary software, etc. All the ethics and all these things, etc. So I will not get it. Okay. Right. So you just ask Google why to use FOSS in schools by Richard Stallman. You will get this article. Okay, and as I mentioned, large number of schools in India, especially in rural area, still do not have basic infrastructure and essential computer lab. But even if they have computer lab, they may not have means to procure commercial operating systems. So in that case, one can work with Linux operating system. And using Linux is nowadays, it's not very difficult at all. In fact, my son, when he was 6 years old, he started using Linux himself. Even now he uses, but he started using. So in fact, that's why I tell many of my colleagues, if my 6-year-old son can use Linux, why not you? Right, so it's not very difficult to use. I mean, all these things are as simple as what you see in Windows. Okay. Right, so if one uses this OSS in school education, it can help in digital inclusion of citizens of the country, and could be one of the key ingredients for success of digital India, right? What the government is talking about. Right, but then so you also need some government policies. There should be some kind of policy where they should encourage using these kind of tools. So use of computers and software should not be just restricted to individuals and educational institutes who can afford them. Right? Therefore, we need government policies that promote large-scale use of this kind of tools, especially at school level. Okay, so let me just give you some list of some software which can be used at school level. So I'm not going to list all of them, but I'll just share some links. For example, you can look at a catalog for free software for schools, which is compiled by Open Source Victoria, and here is the link. So it gives a kind of a whole list of software in various categories which can be utilized at school levels. So let me just show you the. You just Google free software for schools or catalog of open source computer programs from Open Source Victoria. You will get that. I have that file. I can show it if you are interested. It's about 70-80 page document. They have listed a lot of softwares, etc. Another thing, you can look at 100 best open source applications for educators. This is compiled by Caroline Ross. That's also available freely from accredited online universities.com. So just look at 100 best open source applications for educators, and this is just so it gives you the list in various categories: math, logic, some of the GNU plot, GeoGebra, and things like that. Okay, so you can just. Another thing that possibly you can look at, as I mentioned, many Linux operating systems are free. Many of them have started putting many of this open source software along with the operating system itself. Math, in Ubuntu there are many, but especially for maths, this is one which you can try to look at, Mathbuntu. So mathbuntu.org. So this software you can download, you can install in your system, but you can also just make a what they call live DVD. Okay, you can burn it on a DVD and run your computer through that DVD. The whole entire system will run from that DVD. Nothing will happen to your computer, to your any of this data that you have it in your computer, and it also gives you facility to install in your system. If you are convinced, you can make it your dual boot mode. You can run Linux as well as Windows both. Okay, so this is one such. There is another one. This MathLibre. The heading is wrong. MathLibre.org. This is a group of people in Japan. They have developed this. They have put on this Linux platform about more than 100 open source software. Right, so it's freely available for download. You can install. In fact, I wanted to bring some DVD, but then I thought if something is given freely, usually it is not given importance. So if those who are interested can go to this site, download the software and make it live DVD or live pen drive, bootable pen drive, and try to use it. It has, basic operating system, complete, including all the programming language which generally we use, and about more than 100 softwares which are freely available. Okay, so you don't have to install anything for your basic needs, including if you just want to play some media files, run videos and all these things, everything is available. Okay, it's from mathlibre.org. Right, so let me just mention few of the software generally many of you must be already knowing, and so it is just maybe here are some of my preferences. That's all. So GeoGebra nowadays, I think it is one of the most widely and popularly used across the globe, right? So this is software can be used, and if you want to learn this GeoGebra, you must have already realized it's not very difficult at all. There are tons of material available on their website or GeoGebra Tube or GeoGebra Forum. So, and it's a dynamic geometry software which is freely available. The latest version also has 3D in it, and they have also kind of included now what they call computer Java system in this GeoGebra. So latest version, and you can use it from their website. Nowadays you can also use it from your mobile phone, from smartphone. So many of these, in fact, free and open source software can be used from mobile phones. Okay. So I just mention the thing I would just like to mention, like when you use computers, what is the one thing which you use most apart from browsing? Documentation, right? Microsoft Word, maybe Excel, PPT, and things like that, right? So in Linux operating system, this is also again available freely. If you are using Windows, Windows operating system cost is different, separate, and Office cost is separate, right? Here this is freely available. So what they call LibreOffice, and this also allows you to save any of your document in Windows Office format, like in Doc or Docs or in Excel or PPT in Windows format. And you can open any of these window Office files in this. Also allows you to save in a PDF format, which is one of generally very commonly used. Word will not allow you to save it in PDF format. You have to do something else. Whereas if you are using LibreOffice, you get this freely. So usually this, Office, it also has several components, about 6 features it has. One of them is for creating document like MS Word, what they call is LibreOffice Writer. Then LibreOffice Calc, spreadsheet program, which is similar to the Excel. Here, let me mention this Excel itself, you can use it and you can do a lot of calculations in Excel. Okay? You can create a lot of even modelings in Excel. There is a book on math modeling using Excel. I forget, I think it is Albert something. Remember the name? It's not Springer, it is, I can get the name. Right? There is also a book on numerical analysis using Excel. Right? So, lot of entire statistics you can do it in Excel. Apart from that, even matrix calculation you can do it in Excel. So, a lot of things. That you, whatever any computer which you are using, either Linux or Windows or even the Mac, etc. This will have spreadsheet program. This itself you can use it in your classroom, and you can give some project to the students where they can use Excel itself. Okay, so you don't have to even look for separate software. This itself is, a big, very good tool. You also have Impress, like PowerPoint presentation in my office. Also you can draw our sketches freely, which you can save it in your document, include in your document. You also have base for database, and equation editor is also there called math. So all these things are already part of this LibreOffice, which is freely available. LibreOffice is also available for Windows system. Okay, so even if you don't want to buy Office for Windows, you can try and explore LibreOffice. It will serve your purpose. For example, I hardly use Windows, but still most of my work is, I don't think any of my work has suffered. Right, so, okay, one of the things I would like to say is, which is generally is not there in our curriculum, especially if we start teaching programming language from maybe 11th, 12th, or from first year BSc student. But I think it is very important even at school level to teach programming language. This will help students develop their mathematical, logical thinking. There are programming languages which are very easy to use. Any kids can actually use it. Yes. Right, so I would like to mention maybe 3 of them. One is logo programming, which is also available in various formats, like KTurtle, Scratch, and now the Python. Okay, so I'll just briefly mention about these 3. Right, so all these 3 can be taught at school level. Okay. For example, okay, so let me just quote some of the people regarding this programming. So this is what Steve Jobs said. Everyone should learn how to program a computer because it teaches you how to think. He himself was not actually a programmer. Then Bill Gates, learning to write programs stretches your mind and helps you think better. Create a way of thinking about things that I think is helpful in all domains. And this is what Stephen Hawking said. Whether you want to uncover the secrets of universe or you just want to pursue a career in 21st century, basic computer programming is an essential skill to learn. And one more. This is Eric Schmidt, who was, I think, ex-Google executive chairman of Google. For most people on earth, the digital revolution has not started yet. Within next 10 years, all that will change. Let us get whole world coding, right? What he meant was writing computer programs. Okay, so this programming skills is very important, and it can be developed from the school level itself. Right, so as I said, Turtle is one programming language which one can teach students at very elementary level. So for example, there are, this is Turtle program. So there are commands like forward 100 will instruct the turtle to go forward 100 steps and then turn 90-degree left. So all these very simple instructions you can give to this turtle, and it will create any of these geometric figures. So students can create these things very easily actually, right? Starting from very basic geometric figure, even to create complicated figures very easily, and you can see that this code is not very big, right? So it creates all these polygons, triangles, squares, pentagons, and things like with the same side. You can also think, so that you can look at this as approximating circle by regular n1. You can even create Sierpinski triangle. See that this code is quite small, very small. This and a lot of these things are already, in fact I took it from the internet, so all these things are freely available, you can use it. So, what I'm trying to say is, these codes are very simple actually, and all these programs you do not have to install in your system. You can use it freely from the internet. You need not install. There are sites which lets you to use these programs, write these codes, and then save it in your system online. Similarly, Scratch. Scratch is another programming language which is designed for children to teach them computational thinking using powerful building blocks such as animations, creating interactive stories, games, and things like that. It allows users to use what is called event-driven programming with multiple active objects. Okay, so the students can create stories. They can add even some videos, or some sounds, or just some text, and these are all very easily. But actually, you're not asking the student to write a computer program, but there are menus which will do these things. So there is no problem. The students, will not make syntax error. In programming, one of the biggest challenges is this syntax error. Most often, the students may have written program logically which is correct, absolutely correct, but it doesn't compile, and it gets frustrated, and many times even in the exams they will get very little marks because it doesn't compile. Okay, so whereas in this, those things will not happen. Maybe I'll just show you one Scratch program. Let me see. So this is how it looks like. So these are the menus and objects using which you can put it on this stage, and this sprite they call. So let me just so these are for example, this is motion. For example, if I say move 10 steps, and if I click and I can make it changes instead of 10 steps, I can say, let us say 20 steps. This the turtle will move 20 steps. You can ask it to turn to, let us say, 90 degree or anything. Right? And maybe you can ask it to, you can go to control and ask it to repeat this forever. That's all. So when you are saying repeat forever, you are telling that run this program infinitely many times. This is a loop going on, right? Students don't have to write the actual code, but it is just kind of written, and there is a menu for this. So there is no, like that. There's a lot of things you can ask it to stop. You can make any changes, and right. And for example, I can add many things. Since I don't have a lot of time, I would have shown you a lot of examples. But let me see if I. There are already some demos available, right? So for example, this kind of stories and things like that, you can run and see what it says. Let me just enable. It just click to see how we made our magic word. And you can, instead of this, you can bring any of these pictures, etc., and put it in this, all these things. And here also there are lots of documents available, hundreds of videos are available. There are quite a few books also available which will teach you step by step how to use this. For example, you can go to this scratch.mit.edu or scratch.gse.harvard.edu and resources. There are hundreds of Scratch modules available. You can download the program, you can download this PDF file, and many videos are there which will teach you how to do things step by step. Okay, these are some books also. You can look at Learn to Program with Scratch, Super Scratch Programming Adventure, Scratch Programming for Teens. Okay. In fact, first day when my son was taught, he created one story. I may have it somewhere. Now he's in 4th standard, so using Scratch he created his own story. In fact, okay, so let me move on to the next. So Python is another programming language which is quite easy to use, and it is becoming very popular among scientific community. And in fact, it can be taught at maybe starting from 8th standard, one can teach them. And not only it allows you to kind of do very basic mathematical concepts, but you can. This is now used at very high level computational programming. Even the Google uses Python programming back of it. So things in a big way, actually. And a lot of other programs written in other languages can be used from Python console, etc. And you can look at python.org. There are enough resources available. Or if you want at school level some books, Python for kids, doing maths with Python may be useful at school level. But python.org site itself provides you enough kind of documents to learn Python. So let me just quickly start at 2:10. So can I extend for 5 minutes? Or?
We have to go back and forth.
Okay, sure. All right. Okay. So next, I just mentioned Sage is another free and open source software, which is also a computer algebra system. It is kind of similar to Mathematica or Maple. It is created by William Stein from University of Washington in 2005, not very long ago. And his basic aim was to create a viable free and open source alternative to Maple, Mathematica, Magma, and MATLAB. What I call them as big 4 M's, right? So it's definitely as capable as any of these things. Sometimes it kind of works faster than Mathematica. And there are some demos on that. And from Sage platform, you can use many free softwares. So it provides a platform. It works from internet browser. So that means you can access from anywhere. You can also use online from Sage Math Cloud. Now they have also have Sage which can run on smartphones, right? So you don't have to install this software. You can directly create an account on their Sage Math Cloud, and you can start using. And it is written. I mean, the basic language that it uses is Python. So if you have started teaching Python at school level, then the students can do a lot of things using Sage. Okay. So I already mentioned the Sage Math Cloud. You can go and start using. So I'll just show you 1 or 2 demonstrations based on the Sage. Let me just start. You can use it from console, or you can use it from internet browser. So I'm just opening the internet browser. So this is how you see the Sage notebook, you may call it. You can create a new worksheet, right? You can give some name, let us say Sage at and this is where you can interact with Sage. You can just type, let us say I type some number, let us say 650, and execute. Now I can ask if I want to do some calculations regarding this number. This Python programming is object-oriented programming language. There is an operator called .tab. So if I press type dot and press tab, it will provide me all the options that we can apply on this n. For example, I can check whether n is a prime number. So n dot is prime. Is prime. Of course, you know this is not a prime number. But if I type any number, let us say some number like this, and if I want to check whether n is n false, it is not. If it is not a prime, what is next prime? We can guess. So n dot operator, dot tab operator is very useful. So it will tell you what is the next prime. Or maybe you want to find, let us say, factorial of some number, 1200, here it is. You can count number of digits, right? So entire this is very good for number theory. Entire number theory can be very easily done. In fact, William Stein himself has a small 100-page document on number theory. Or let us say if I create some function fx equal to, let us say, x into sin x into, let us say, sin x. This function. Now, the first thing, if you have created some function, you would like to possibly plot its graph. So you can simply plot, let us say, f dot plot. Graph. And you can make it beautiful, change colors, change all these things are very, very easily available. Or if I want to know what is derivative, again, if I'm first time learning this, as I said, I can simply use dot tab operator. So if dot and then tab, it will tell me what are the functions that I can apply to this. You will see that there is one function called diff for differentiation. You can very easily guess. So if I say f dot diff, it will tell me what is the first derivative, right? If you say f dot diff, maybe 4, it will give me fourth derivative, right? Or if I have even two-dimensional function, if you have a function of two variables, etc., you can plot, you can do everything in this very easily. And all these things are quite easy. Of course, there are help document available freely along with when you install this. You can go to the top. There is a help. Click on that. So there is a tutorial available which you can go through. Okay. So since I don't have time, I have shown you a lot of examples. For example, this morning, Gaurav was showing you Sierpinski triangle, and I think I already had it. So this is, I was writing a chapter on application of linear algebra, and I thought I will include this as a application to affine transformation, and I created this program. So this is actually a Python program. So you have right? You take out the middle triangle and things like that, ultimately it will become even the carpet, right? So of course I can't run it for too many threads, it will take some time, but you can do these things quite easily. That is what I'm okay, so this is just you can just go to this sagemath.org. There are few books available. There are documents which will help you to learn. And as I said, it can be used from school level to even the research level. Okay, that's why this is just quite useful in that sense. Just you can look at, as mentioned, I have also co-authored one book on calculus, which uses Sage. So entire calculus course, these Sage courses are available. Not only that, we have provided what is called QR code in this book. So if you have a smartphone, you can read this QR code, and it will directly take you to the website where these Sage codes are available. You can edit those codes and see what are the how these changes. You can change the parameters. Similarly, one linear algebra book, this is freely available online. It's also going to be available on printed copy, but that will be on demand. Okay, so yeah, so just to conclude, say that this development of mathematical software, both free and commercial, have come a long way. Usefulness of such tools for learning and teaching mathematics can no longer be ignored. However, its use in India is still limited among a handful of people in various institutions or individuals. This post has potential to deal with some of these limitations, and it's certainly encouraged at all levels. Long-term government policy, as I mentioned, is also going to be very significant in this. And these tools nowadays, you can use it from the internet directly or from smartphones. So this will encourage students to enhance their mathematical concepts. When you teach programming language, they are also, when you ask them to write a computer program, they are also forced to learn the concept well. Otherwise, they cannot write it. So again, so I thank you very much.
We have time for two very quick questions. Please don't ask the question.
पहला क्वेश्चन सर फिर क्लास लेंगे क्या?
नहीं, फिर क्लास नहीं लेंगे. Any other question?
आपका क्लास नहीं लेंगे.
Any other question? Yeah, I just want to comment that there was this big panel discussion that discovered many mathematical ideas using such software. We wish to thank Pradeep.
Yeah, as I said, telling you how using Scratch or implementing in our curriculum, that motivation came from my son actually. I knew earlier also, but when he showed me that in first class this is what he can create, then I'm sorry.
Now I request our chairperson, Dr. Gaurav Bhatnagar sir, to felicitate Dr. Ajit Kumar.